You guys, it is 2023. New year, new job, let's get it. What's up guys? Welcome to MerrilyMaralee. I'm MerrilyMaralee and Happy New Year! Welcome to my channel if this is your first time. I'm so glad that you found your way here. And if this isn't your first time here, I bet you're wondering like, girl, where you been? And the answer to that is working on a comeback for you. So this is going to be my first video in a 3-part series all about landing the job, getting a PA job in animation. If you are not sure what that means, if you're unsure what production management for animation is, let me know. That's a video for a different time. But if you already know what that means and you're interested in it, then this is the series for you, my friend. So the series is going to focus on tailoring your resume, virtual and in-house networking, and then also tips for online and remote job interviews. So stick around. I think that you're gonna find a lot of useful information in these videos, and if you don't, then still chill out and hang, we vibing. So let's get into it. The first thing that I want to talk about is formats. Also, I've been trying to like act like I just have all of this stuff memorized from the top of my head. I don't. So I'm gonna look at my notes. I'm gonna normalize being prepared and I'm going to look at my notes. So if you see me looking off over here, it's because I want to remember all of the great stuff that I have to tell you guys and I don't want to forget it trying to look cool. So the first thing that I think that everyone needs to realize about entering the industry, like if this is your first time, like you're a beginner, or you've had like a couple jobs, but still not that much, your resume should really only be 1 page. Like seriously, like only 1 page. I mean, even if you have like all the experience in the world, you could still find a really good way to dwindle that down to the most important and relative experiences to the position at hand. So you don't really want to try to over promote yourself in a way where it's like, oh, I've done all of these things, I'm so overqualified for this job, because they aren't even going to look at all of that stuff. Recruiters, they're pretty much just like skimming through it. They are not gonna have the time nor spend the time to look at all of those pages of resume, right? So you need it on 1 page, short, concise, sweet, to the point, right? And speaking of to the point, it would be really good to utilize a bit of like a bullet point format system, just because it helps break ideas down. Bullet points are a lot easier to read through when you're skimming quickly, and it helps them pick out keywords a lot more easily as they're going through your resume. So like bullet point format or like small paragraph format, you don't really want to have like these big chunks of words that will take too long to go through, because they won't do it. When your resume is broken up in a way that is like short and sweet, it is a lot easier to just get through the points a lot more clearly, and the information is presented more clearly. And another good way to get information out more clearly is having your experience at the top of your resume versus your education. So I know like coming out of college, you know, that's the first thing you want to put on there is, this is where I went to school, these are the classes I took. But that isn't going to be as relative when you are no longer a student. And I know that it's really hard to do that, because it's like, well, I don't really have experience outside of school. And I'm not saying that you can't use your school experiences, you totally can. Like you can have your experience section up at the top, and then you can highlight like projects that you did that are relative to that work. So like, for example, I directed like a short, like a very, very short film thing, and like, gosh, what class was it? I forget what class it was. It was some animation class. Oh, motion graphics. It was motion graphics. And, you know, I put, you know, like director and like the project and like the school, and then I listed out all of the relative experience that I got from that there, along with like the other experiences and stuff like that, even though it's a school project. And then my education, like formally, my education section is at the bottom. that, you know, explicitly states the university, my GPA, and like programs and stuff like that. So experience is way more relative. You really want that to stick out to the recruiters first versus where you went to school, because that isn't really going to matter as much. Okay, so your resume looks good. It's formatted nicely with the bullet points or the little mini paragraphs. What's next? Body language. It is imperative, absolutely imperative, I think, that you really look at your job description and use that as a guideline of what your resume should be highlighting. So if you think about it, the job description is kind of like a cheat sheet for your resume. No, like seriously, it is. So you should literally be pulling keywords from the job description into your resume and expanding upon them, showing how, you know, you can do all those things with the experiences that you've listed. And if you're really good at this, you can make any experience relevant to the job that you're applying for. And I know you're probably wondering, like, where are those keywords? Like, they're usually in like the expectations part of the job description, right? They're like, must be hardworking, must be able to, you know, communicate effectively, stuff like that. Like, those are the keywords that you should be focusing on, not just like any random ones, like the ones that are specifically listed in the job description. And so now that we have the keywords, you need to make sure that you're utilizing them in a way that really accentuates, you know, your experiences. And again, if you don't have a lot of experience at all, then school projects are a really great way to kind of replace traditional other job experiences. And then as a last resort, unrelated jobs. And what I mean by an unrelated job is, for example, how like my last job before working in the animation industry was working at a pet store. Pet stores have nothing to do with animation. But if I needed more experiences on my resume, I could put my pet store work on there and I could make it relate. Let me show you how. So at a basic level, what did I do as a sales associate at a pet store? Okay, so I listened to customer needs and tried to find appropriate solutions. I was responsible for money, sometimes large amounts. I was responsible for cleaning certain areas. And, you know, sometimes I would get yelled at by people for, you know, they're having a bad day, you know, or their dog's itchy, you know, like stuff like that. Pet store stuff, right? So how do we make that relate to animation? How do we make that sound good on a resume and show that I'm still qualified for this job, even though I have this experience that doesn't look, you know, related on the outside? So if we wanted to justify my pet store work, you know, as a meaningful experience for an up and coming like PA or anyone in production management, some things that we could say is that, you know, I worked efficiently at troubleshooting and problem solving customer needs. I effectively managed currency in high intensity situations. I maintained organization and cleanliness of customer and employee areas, and that I learned effective verbal communication with many different groups of people and personalities. All of that sounds great, right? That sounds like production management stuff right there a little bit, you know? That sounds great. And so when we are seeing those like keywords fire off in our description, we are forcing the readers, the recruiters, to look at us and our line of work in a brand new way, in a way that they know can benefit them. So when you're writing out, you know, the descriptions of the experiences you have, you don't just want to flat out tell them what you did, but you genuinely want to make it count. Okay, so the final topic that I wanted to talk about today for resumes is, that wasn't a good drum roll. So our final topic for tailoring our resumes is design. And I think that one of the coolest things about working in animation is that we are a creative field. You know, we are innovative, we're visual, and with that, like, we get to have a lot of fun in making our resumes, you know, but at the same time, you don't want to go like too crazy, but you definitely do want to make it stand out, if you know what I mean. So like, for example, you know, you can add some extra pizzazz, maybe like change up some fonts, but don't make it to where it's like really hard to read. You still want to make it to where it's very easy to read, especially if you're reading in a hurry, but just something that's like, oh, you know, that's different. It's not like Times New Roman or General Arial, you know, or Helvetica. You know, you want to give it a little extra something, and you can play with colors. If you know how to draw, you can maybe do a little doodle. Nothing that's distracting, of course, but just kind of like putting your personality on the page, because realistically, when you're, you know, sending off your resume, you don't get to be there when they're looking at it. You know, they don't have any idea who you are. So the first introduction, the first impression of you that they're going to get is what's laid out in front of them. And I'm not saying you have to have like stickers and pictures and like all these different things to show that, you know, you have a personality, but like even if it's just like a little pop of color in your name, or just, you know, a slightly different font than what everyone else is using, just kind of something that makes it a little bit more memorable, because at the same time, they're going to be looking at a ton of resumes, and you want to make sure that yours is going to stick in their mind for something, you know, for something, not just what's on the page, like your actual experiences, but just a glimpse of like to who you are as a person, because they're going to be working with the person, you know, not the experiences. They're going to work with you on a daily basis. So is there any way that you can kind of show them just a small glimpse, a peek, if you will, into who you are, and, you know, the personality that they'll be dealing with on a day-to-day basis if they were to hire you. So if you want some really good examples of some beautiful but simple yet enticing resumes, let me know in the comments down below. You can also DM me on my Instagram page. I have 2 Instagrams. I have MerrilyMaralee, which is my personal one, and then there's also MerrilyMay Coaching, because I'm a life coach. And I do coaching for career as well, as you can see, as I am here now. So feel free to DM me on either one of my accounts. Let me know in the comments below what you're interested in. Let me know if any of this was helpful to you, if you knew it all, or if you have other tips that you would love to share. Because again, this is a community. We are all here to cultivate growth. We are all here to learn together. So if you have some other really great resume tips, please leave them in the comments. DM them to me as well. Let's talk about this. We're all here to grow together. So thank you for watching. Keep your eyes out for part 2 of the Landing the Job series, where we are going to be talking about, what are we going to be talking about? Virtual and in-person networking. Oh my God, I love networking. Networking is so great, guys. But yes, we'll be talking about networking, virtual and in-person, and in-house for animation professionals. So keep your eyes peeled. And with that, again, Happy New Year. Welcome to the garden, and have a great day. Bye.